In a seemingly idyllic suburban neighborhood, the facade of a perfect family concealed a troubling reality. Linda Smith, a mother entrenched in her own prejudices, found herself at odds with her son David when he fell in love with Sarah, a woman of a different race. As David's relationship flourished, so did the tensions within their home, culminating in Linda's desperate and unthinkable decision to eliminate the perceived threat to her family's legacy. What unfolded was a chilling tale of hatred, betrayal, and the quest for justice, exposing the dark undercurrents of racism that can exist even within the confines of family. This story explores the harrowing consequences of prejudice, the struggle for acceptance, and the resilience required to confront the deep-seated beliefs that can destroy lives. A mother's deep-seated prejudices. Linda Smith's beliefs were rooted in a troubling upbringing, filled with biases that she passed down to her children. Raised in an environment that praised conformity and shunned diversity, Linda viewed the world through a narrow lens. She often expressed disdain for those who were different, using derogatory language and fostering a toxic atmosphere in her home. Son falls in love with a woman of a different race. As David entered college, he began to explore the world outside his mother's influence, meeting people from diverse backgrounds. It was there that he met Sarah, a vibrant and intelligent woman who challenged his views and opened his eyes to new experiences. Their connection blossomed quickly, fueled by shared interests and deep conversations that transcended superficial differences. Sarah's warmth and empathy drew David in, making him feel understood and accepted in ways he had never experienced at home. They spent countless hours together, exploring the campus, engaging in passionate debates, and sharing dreams for the future. Despite their differences, their love grew stronger, and David began to envision a life with Sarah, filled with acceptance and understanding. However, when David introduced Sarah to his family, he was met with a cold, dismissive attitude from Linda. She made snide comments and expressed her disapproval openly, insisting that their relationship was nothing but a phase. David was torn between his deepening feelings for Sarah and the fear of his mother's wrath, setting the stage for an impending confrontation that would shatter their fragile family dynamic. As David's relationship with Sarah deepened, so did the tensions at home. Linda's disapproval became increasingly vocal, turning into a source of constant conflict. She criticized David for spending time with someone she deemed unworthy, insisting that he could find a better partner, someone more appropriate. Her words dripped with disdain, creating an atmosphere of hostility that David found unbearable. In family gatherings, Linda would make veiled comments, highlighting differences in culture and background. She often cornered David, interrogating him about his intentions with Sarah, insisting that he was making a grave mistake. The more she pushed, the more determined David became to defend his love. He tried reasoning with his mother, explaining how Sarah was not just someone from a different race, but a person with dreams and ambitions, deserving of respect. Linda, however, remained unyielding. The strain between mother and son reached a breaking point when David finally stood up to her, asserting that his happiness should not be dictated by her prejudices. This confrontation left both parties shaken, David feeling isolated and Linda feeling her authority threatened. As the rift widened, the underlying tensions hinted at a more dangerous path that lay ahead. In her desperation to regain control over David's life and eradicate what she saw as a threat, Linda's mind began to spiral into darker territories. The constant rejection of her influence and the perceived loss of her son pushed her to a breaking point. Frustrated and consumed by her hatred, Linda concocted a chilling plan. She would eliminate Sarah from their lives permanently. Initially, Linda dismissed her thoughts as mere fantasies fueled by anger. But as the days turned into weeks, her resolve hardened. She started researching ways to hire someone to carry out her horrific plan, exploring the dark corners of the internet and contacting individuals who could help her. Each click and inquiry only solidified her conviction that she was justified in her actions. Linda painted herself as a protective mother, convinced that the world would be a better place without Sarah in it. She envisioned a scenario where David would eventually thank her for saving him from what she deemed a terrible mistake. This delusional thinking blinded her to the morality of her intentions, and she became increasingly fixated on executing her sinister plot, believing it was the only way to reclaim her son's future. With her mind set on her deadly plan, Linda took the drastic step of hiring a hitman. Driven by her distorted beliefs and a sense of urgency, she ventured into the shadows of the criminal underworld. Through a series of clandestine meetings, she found someone willing to carry out the job, someone who could be easily manipulated by her emotional turmoil and desire for control. Linda's meetings with the hitman were cold and calculating. She provided detailed descriptions of Sarah and outlined her intentions, all while presenting herself as a grieving mother who only wanted to protect her son. The hitman, seeing an opportunity for quick money, agreed to the terms, but Linda remained fixated on making it appear like a random act of violence, ensuring that she would not be implicated. As the plan solidified, Linda felt a chilling sense of empowerment. She believed that with every step taken towards her goal, she was reclaiming her family's legacy and securing a future for David free from what she considered toxic influences. Yet, deep down, whispers of doubt and guilt nagged at her, reminding her of the monstrous path she had chosen. Despite this, her obsession with control and her deep-seated prejudices drowned out any remnants of her conscience. As the plan began to take shape, Linda grew increasingly anxious, yet exhilarated. The hitman set a date, and she felt a rush of adrenaline at the thought of finally ridding her life of Sarah. Meanwhile, David remained blissfully unaware of the dark intentions swirling around him, focusing instead on planning a romantic weekend getaway with Sarah to strengthen their bond. On the day of the planned attack, the atmosphere was thick with tension. Linda had orchestrated everything meticulously, making sure she had an alibi and that her movements would not raise any suspicions. She paced the house, waiting for the call that would signal the execution of her horrifying plan. Meanwhile, David and Sarah were enjoying their day, filled with laughter and love, completely oblivious to the danger that lurked just beyond their bubble. As evening fell, the hitman followed Sarah's movements, tracking her through the city, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. However, as the plot unfolded, unforeseen complications arose. The hitman, after observing Sarah's genuine interactions and the joy she brought to David, began to question the morality of his assignment. What was meant to be a simple job now felt heavy with consequence, as he grappled with the realization of what he was about to do. In that moment of hesitation, the plot thickened, setting the stage for a shocking turn of events that would change everything. As David and Sarah returned from their weekend getaway, he felt an overwhelming sense of happiness, believing their bond had grown even stronger. However, when they entered his home, the atmosphere shifted. Linda was acting unusually tense, her face pale and drawn, as if she had been waiting for something to happen. That evening, David received an anonymous tip through a text message that left him shaken. The message warned him about his mother's intentions toward Sarah, detailing the plot to have her killed. Initially, he dismissed it as a cruel prank, but a lingering sense of dread pushed him to investigate further. He confronted Linda, demanding the truth. Under pressure, Linda's facade began to crumble. When David pressed for answers, she revealed her deep-seated hatred and the lengths she had gone to eliminate Sarah from their lives. As her confession spilled forth, David felt a whirlwind of emotions: shock, betrayal, and horror. The realization that his own mother had plotted violence against the woman he loved shattered his world. In a rush of adrenaline, David raced to find Sarah, fearing for her life. As he pieced together the timeline, he realized that the hitman might still be lurking, waiting for the opportunity to strike. The urgency of the situation fueled David's determination, igniting a fierce resolve to protect Sarah at all costs and confront the darkness that had taken hold of his family. After uncovering the chilling truth, David immediately contacted the authorities, detailing the threat against Sarah and the plot his mother had orchestrated. The police acted swiftly, leading to Linda's arrest at their home. The shocking news sent ripples through the community, as neighbors and friends struggled to comprehend how such darkness could reside in a family they believed was ordinary. As the legal proceedings began, the courtroom buzzed with tension. Linda sat stoically, her demeanor a mix of defiance and denial, while David faced the emotional turmoil of testifying against his own mother. He recounted the events leading up to the revelation, his heart heavy as he spoke about the pain and betrayal he felt. Sarah, though traumatized, showed remarkable strength, standing by David's side throughout the ordeal. The prosecution painted Linda as a dangerous figure, highlighting her deep-seated prejudices and her calculated plan to commit murder. They presented evidence, including the hitman's testimony and the text message that alerted David, illustrating the gravity of her intentions. Linda's defense, however, argued that she was simply a misguided mother acting out of concern for her son's future, attempting to frame her actions in a sympathetic light. As the trial progressed, emotions ran high, revealing the fractures within the family. David grappled with conflicting feelings of love for his mother and the need to protect Sarah. The legal battle became a harrowing journey, forcing him to confront the depths of his mother's hatred and the implications of her actions. Ultimately, the jury faced the daunting task of determining Linda's fate, a decision that would irrevocably alter their lives forever. The verdict came down like a thunderclap, leaving the community in shock. Linda was found guilty of conspiracy to commit murder, and the sentence was severe. The news spread rapidly, igniting public outrage and debate about the deeply rooted issues of racism and familial loyalty. Many expressed disbelief that a mother could harbor such hatred, while others questioned the societal influences that might have shaped her views. David faced a media frenzy, struggling to navigate the whirlwind of attention. Interviews and news reports portrayed him as a hero for exposing his mother's plan, yet he felt anything but victorious. The reality of his mother's actions weighed heavily on him, leaving him grappling with feelings of guilt and betrayal. He often reflected on the family he once knew, now shattered beyond repair. Sarah, while relieved that she was safe, found herself in the crosshairs of public scrutiny as well. Some praised her bravery, while others expressed disbelief at the situation, questioning how David could have chosen to love someone who faced such peril. The couple leaned on each other for support, forging an even stronger bond amid the chaos, but the scars of the ordeal would take time to heal. As Linda served her sentence, the family dynamic was irrevocably altered. David distanced himself from his past, focusing on advocacy against racism and violence, determined to ensure that no one else would face the same horror he had endured. The fallout from the case rippled through the community, prompting conversations about prejudice, family loyalty, and the urgent need for change in attitudes towards love and acceptance. As the dust settled from the trial, attention turned towards Sarah, the victim at the center of the harrowing plot. The community rallied around her, emphasizing the importance of standing against hate and violence. Many local organizations reached out to offer support, counseling, and resources, ensuring that Sarah felt safe and valued after the trauma she had endured. In the wake of the trial, Sarah decided to share her story publicly, using her voice to advocate for victims of racism and hate crimes. She participated in community forums, speaking about the impact of prejudice and the need for understanding and acceptance. Her courage resonated with many, inspiring others to confront their own biases and engage in meaningful conversations about diversity and inclusion. The attention on Sarah's plight sparked a broader movement, leading to community initiatives aimed at educating people about the dangers of racism and the importance of empathy. Workshops and discussions were organized, focusing on building bridges between different cultures and fostering understanding. Sarah became a symbol of resilience, embodying the strength required to rise above hatred and fear. While the scars of the ordeal would take time to heal, Sarah found solace in her newfound purpose. She formed deep connections with others who had faced similar struggles, creating a network of support and solidarity. In seeking justice not only for herself, but for all victims of hate, she turned her pain into a catalyst for change, proving that even in the darkest of times, hope and healing are possible. After a tense and emotional trial, Linda's sentencing arrived, and the courtroom was filled with a mixture of anxiety and anticipation. The judge delivered a stern statement, emphasizing the severity of Linda's actions and the profound impact they had on her son and the victim. The courtroom fell silent as the judge outlined the consequences of her conspiracy to commit murder, highlighting the deep-seated racism that had driven her to such a heinous act. Linda was sentenced to a significant prison term, a decision that evoked a range of emotions in those present. David sat in the courtroom, his heart heavy with a complex mix of feelings. He had fought to protect Sarah and confront his mother's darkness, yet witnessing Linda's downfall brought forth a flood of sorrow. He struggled with the reality that the woman who had once been his mother was now a convicted criminal, lost to her prejudices. As Linda was led away, a sense of finality washed over David. Their family was irreparably shattered, and he grappled with the haunting realization that the love he had once felt for his mother had been overshadowed by her hatred. The media covered Linda's sentencing extensively, fueling public discussions about the roots of racism and the tragic consequences it can bring. In prison, Linda faced the stark reality of her choices. Isolated and confronted with the repercussions of her actions, she began to reflect on the life she had lived and the values she had instilled in her family. Whether she would ever acknowledge her wrongdoings remained uncertain, but the path to redemption was steep, and the damage she caused would echo through the lives of those she had harmed for years to come. The aftermath of Linda's actions served as a stark reminder of the destructive power of racism and the far-reaching consequences it can have on individuals and families. Communities began to engage in deep reflections about the insidious nature of prejudice, recognizing that it often hides beneath the surface, festering and leading to unimaginable acts of violence and hatred. David emerged as a vocal advocate against racism, sharing his story to illustrate how deeply ingrained beliefs can poison relationships and distort realities. He highlighted the importance of empathy, education, and open dialogue in dismantling prejudiced views. Through speaking engagements and community initiatives, David urged others to confront their biases and strive for understanding, emphasizing that love should always triumph over hatred. Sarah, too, became a key figure in these discussions, sharing her perspective as a victim of hate. Her experiences resonated with many, sparking conversations about the need for compassion and support for those targeted by discrimination. She advocated for resources and programs that address the psychological impact of racism, urging society to prioritize healing and understanding. As the community reflected on Linda's tragic story, they began to create programs aimed at fostering inclusivity and addressing the roots of racism. Workshops, educational campaigns, and support groups emerged, focusing on building bridges between diverse cultures. The narrative shifted from one of hatred to one of hope, resilience, and unity. In the end, the ordeal served as a powerful catalyst for change, prompting many to confront their beliefs and seek a more inclusive society. The scars of the past remained, but through understanding and collective action, the community aspired to create a future where love and acceptance prevailed over fear and division.